Welcome back. Get cozy because, babes, we are back on our paranormal shit today.
Oh, we are so incredibly back. Like, the energy in the room right now is honestly vibrating.
I am practically levitating. But before we completely spiral into the absolute madness of this week's deep dive, I have to give a massive high-energy shout-out to one of our own.
Oh, absolutely.
Tulis slid into the DMs and demanded we cover this. And babes, you already know, it is on the rotation we are covering. But shout out to you, babe. We see you, we love you, and honestly, this level of chaotic television requires a dedicated support group.
Which is exactly what the Snark Squad is. Chillid, you are literally the blueprint. You knew we needed to process this drama together, and, well, we are here to serve.
Exactly. Oh, and a very quick merch update. Babes, we are currently waiting on a restock. I know, my inbox is an absolute shambles.
People are feral for the sweatpants.
They are. You all want the hoodies, the mugs, the sweatpants, but the second it drops, we will let you all know. I am physically vibrating with excitement for this new drop.
Yeah, we promise it is coming. The supply chain is just, taking a minute, but the quality is top tier.
It is so worth the wait. But okay, we need to get into something highly disturbing right now because I am forcing the issue. You need to tell them. No, tell the Snark Squad what is happening in your apartment because I have not known peace since you told me off mic.
Look, I consider myself a highly rational, analytical person.
Right.
Like, I am the logical one.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. But I need the Snark Squad's objective opinion on this because I think my grip on reality is slipping. Babes, I have mentioned this before, but my friend Tanis went to Mexico last year.
Ugh, Tanis.
And she brought me back these dolls. And I am literally convinced they are haunted.
I am shivering. I literally have actual goosebumps traveling up my arms right now just thinking about it.
Just let me explain the sequence of events, because when she handed them to me, I thought, oh, cool, folk art.
Right.
But ever since she brought them into my apartment, the baseline energy of my living room is completely off.
Bad vibes.
Have you ever walked into a room and the air just feels heavy? Like it has physical density, thick, stagnant energy. And that is just during the day.
Oh my God.
At night, there are these weird, totally unexplainable noises, tiny rhythmic scratching sounds coming directly from the specific bookshelf where they sit.
No, absolutely not. I would have moved out. I would have broken my lease immediately. You are braver than me.
Well, it gets worse. Because I thought, okay, maybe it is a mouse on the wall. Maybe it is the building settling.
Trying to rationalize it.
Exactly. I tell myself it is the vibrations from the garbage trucks driving by outside. But babes, I swear to you, on everything I love, I will position these dolls facing strictly forward, shoulders square to the room.
I hate this.
And the next morning, I will come out to make coffee. And one of them, specifically the one with the weird little woven hat, is turned slightly to the side.
Shut up.
Just a few degrees, looking toward the hallway.
Stop it right now. Throw them in the incinerator. Send them to the bottom of the ocean. Burn the apartment down. Babes, I am actively spiraling on your behalf.
I mean, what do I do?
Bad energy is real. You are inviting paranormal chaos into your sanctuary. Why are they even still in your house?
Because if I throw them away, what if that angers them?
Oh, true.
What if that activates the curse? Right now, we are at a stalemate. We are just coexisting in passive-aggressive tension. But babes, these dolls literally look like voodoo dolls.
They do.
They have these little stitched mouths and hollowed-out eyes. Like, why would you give these to someone? What kind of souvenir is a cursed effigy?
Tanis is a frenemy. Tanis is an enemy of the state. That is not a souvenir. That is targeted sabotage. We need the Snark Squad to weigh in immediately.
Please.
Snark Squad, we need your ghost stories. Drop them in the comments. Send them in. We want all the creepy energy. But more importantly, tell us exactly how to cleanse a space before these little woven menaces start story-walking through the apartment and hovering over the bed.
Send the sage, send the holy water, send a priest. Because I am thoroughly spooked. But honestly, speaking of being hooked on creepy, claustrophobic, inescapable energy, it is actually kind of crazy to me that the show we are talking about today has been going on for 4 entire seasons.
4 seasons! In this television economy,
Right.
And the pacing, it is absolutely exquisite.
It is genuinely a masterclass in psychological warfare. Think about other supernatural puzzle box shows. By season 4, they usually completely collapse under the weight of their own lore.
Oh, 100%. They get so messy.
They get bogged down in answering questions with more frustrating questions, and the characters just start running in circles. But this show, it keeps you completely hooked without dragging for a single frame.
No filler.
Exactly. The constant, unrelenting mind games they play, not just with the characters, but with us, the audience. It is brilliant.
It really is. It constantly evolves the threat. But also, speaking of things that mess with your mind, reality itself is feeling a little blurry today.
Blurry.
Because before we even sat down to record, earlier today, we found vanilla Coke at Costco.
The simulation is glitching.
Babes, we felt like we time traveled. I was standing in the middle of the warehouse, surrounded by bulk toilet paper, and my soul literally left my body.
We genuinely thought we were in an alternate universe. Because where did it go?
It vanished.
It literally evaporated from the cultural zeitgeist for an entire decade. Was there a discontinuation announcement? No. It was just suddenly wiped from the timeline.
I was standing in the aisle, clutching this case of vanilla Coke, spiraling into the deepest childhood nostalgia. I could suddenly taste the year 2004.
It was a very specific era.
I remembered my old butterfly clips. I remembered the exact smell of my middle school cafeteria. I remembered everything. It was like a sleeper agent activation code.
And I was standing right next to you, completely questioning the fabric of reality itself. Like, did we step through a faraway tree somewhere near the food court and just casually end up in a timeline where vanilla Coke is a staple good?
Honestly, maybe.
Are we in the Matrix? Because things that disappear for that long do not just magically manifest on a pallet at Costco.
It is heavily giving alternate dimension. It is giving glitch. So, slightly spooked, slightly nostalgic, and incredibly ready. Babes, let us get into this town.
Let us get into the mess.
Because Season 4, Episode 2, titled Fray, absolutely obliterated whatever shred of emotional stability I had left after the premiere.
It was a complete and utter bloodbath for the soul.
Truly.
The writers woke up and chose violence. And I think we have to start right in the top with the ultimate bait and switch, the bag and the barn. Because we move from the weirdness of our own reality with haunted dolls and vintage soda directly into the absolute twisted, punitive reality of this town.
The opening of this is so deeply upsetting. We pick up exactly where we left off, the morning after the worst night of their lives. And Boyd spots this massive, person-sized, heavy canvas bag hanging from the motel sign.
Just swaying there.
Just slowly swaying in the morning heat. And there is fresh, thick blood dripping from the bottom of it, pooling on the pavement.
And the town does not just present the horror, it scores it. The diner jukebox, completely on its own, starts blaring the Beatles.
The music.
Specifically, the song Good Morning, Good Morning. It is this peppy, upbeat, horn-heavy 60s pop song playing at top volume, echoing through the empty streets.
So sad.
The juxtaposition of this cheerful, bouncy melody against the visceral reality of a dripping body bag, it is psychological torture.
It made my stomach drop into my shoes. Because Tabitha is standing there, completely terrified. Jim did not come home last night. He was out in the woods. So the math in her head is immediate.
Right. She assumes it is him.
That is my husband in that bag. So what does a mother do? She goes into primal protection mode. She grabs Ethan and Julie, and she sends them to the barn. She says, go to the barn. Do not look. Hide there.
The worst possible place.
She is desperately trying to protect them from seeing their father's mangled, slaughtered body getting lowered from that sign.
It is the ultimate misdirection. The town is playing chess, and everyone else is playing checkers. So Boyd and Jade get the ladder, they climb up, they are physically struggling to untie this heavy, blood-soaked canvas bag.
The tension was insane.
The sound design here is excruciating. The creaking of the ropes, the heavy thud as it hits the asphalt, the camera work is tight, claustrophobic. We are bracing ourselves. They pull the canvas back and, well, it is a dead ram. It is severed goat heads. It is animal carcasses.
The sigh of relief that left my body, my heart had literally stopped, and in that split second, I felt this massive wave of relief. I was like, oh my God, it is just the goats. Jim is alive. It is just a sick prank.
But then, the audio shifts. Over the upbeat Beatles music, cutting through the morning air, we hear it.
Julie's wail from the barn. The most gut-wrenching, soul-tearing scream I have ever heard on television.
Babes, the psychology of this setup is purely demonic. It is calculated precision. Let us break down the mechanics of what the man in yellow just did.
Let's do it.
The entity knew the bag on the sign would draw all the adults to the center of town. It knew Tabitha would instinctively send the children away to shield them. And where is the one place Ethan feels safe?
The barn.
The barn. He loves the animals. The barn is their designated safe space. The monsters intentionally engineered this entire scenario so that the kids, Julie and Ethan, would be isolated, and be the very first ones to walk into that dark, quiet barn and find their father.
And the visual of what they found. It is burned into my retinas. Jim, strung up upside down from the high rafters, his chest completely ripped open, ribs exposed, completely hollowed out.
Brutal.
And written on the barn wall behind him in massive, thick letters made of his own blood. Knowledge comes at a cost.
Which forces us to ask a really uncomfortable question about the nature of the entity running this town. I know we've debated this before. There have been theories floating around that this realm is governed by a child's imagination.
Right, the whole inner child theory.
You look at the evidence. The monsters look like simple retro 50s milkmen and cheerleaders with exaggerated cartoonish smiles. The town buildings are generic like a child's playset. The trees teleport you like a fairy tale. But this,
Yeah, no.
stringing up a father like a slaughtered pig, specifically for his adolescent children to find, just to teach the mother a lesson.
That is not a child's nightmare. That is ancient, vindictive, highly sophisticated evil. A child's fear is getting eaten by a monster under the bed. This is psychological warfare. This is an entity that understands human love, human trauma, and familial bonds, and actively uses them as weapons.
Precisely. It is weaponized grief. And what is truly terrifying is the foresight. Tabitha had a vision in the lighthouse all the way back in season 1 where she saw Jim hanging upside down.
Wait, really? Oh my God, you are right.
Yes, the town did not just come up with this punishment on the fly. It has had this specific horror in its back pocket for years, waiting for the exact right moment to deploy it. It is a direct retaliation.
Because look at the catalyst. What happened at the exact end of season 3? Tabitha and Jade pushed the boundaries. They went to the bottle tree. They deciphered the visions. They remembered the Ankui children. They gained knowledge.
Knowledge comes at a cost. The town operates on an economy of suffering. You uncover a piece of the puzzle, you pay a toll. And the toll for understanding the children was Jim's life.
Which brings us to the absolute explosion of grief, guilt, and the vicious blame game that dominates the rest of the episode. Because the trauma of finding that body does not just result in sadness, it instantly metamorphoses into displaced, explosive anger.
It is so messy.
We have to unpack Ethan's reaction back at the house. This broke my heart. He is completely losing it. He is smashing things in the living room, throwing objects, screaming at Tabitha with this raw, venomous hatred. He is actively blaming his mother for his father's death.
And if you look at it from a child's incredibly literal perspective, his logic actually tracks. He says, "You are always fighting." He thinks the mechanics of the world are mom and dad yell at each other, so dad gets mad, goes out into the dangerous woods to get away from mom, and the monsters get him. Therefore, it is mom's fault.
It is so devastatingly real.
He is desperately trying to establish a cause and effect relationship to make sense of the senseless.
He needs someone to be the villain so the universe makes sense. But the tragic truth is, and we see this when Tabitha is literally weeping over Jim's corpse later, Jim was her person. They were messy. They were on the brink of divorce before they even got trapped in this hellscape. They argued constantly. But in the crucible of this town, they found their way back to each other. That was her soulmate.
And that profound, suffocating grief is what fuels the most intense scene of the episode. Tabitha in the barn with Jade.
Oh my God, Tabitha on her knees in the dirt. She has a rag and a bucket, and she is violently scrubbing the bloody message off the wooden wall. Just scrubbing and scrubbing, getting her husband's blood all over her hands, all over her clothes.
Completely futile.
It is a completely futile act. The wood is stained, but she is scrubbing with this manic, unhinged energy. And Jade walks in. He approaches her slowly, and she turns on him with pure, unadulterated venom. She looks him dead in the eye and screams, "It should have been you hanging from the fucking rafter."
The silence that followed that line, I stopped breathing. But we need to pause and talk about Jade's massive, monumental character growth in this exact moment.
Yes, let's talk about Jade.
Because let us rewind to season 1, Jade. Who was he? He was a narcissistic, arrogant, abrasive tech bro who sold his company for millions and thought he was the smartest person in any room. If season 1 Jade heard that, he would have exploded. He would have screamed back, made it about his own victimhood, called her crazy, and stormed off.
100%. He would have thrown a massive tantrum.
But season 4 Jade, he does not flinch. He just stands there in the dim light of the barn. He takes her abuse. He absorbs her absolute hatred because he has the emotional intelligence to recognize that she is not really talking to him. She is drowning in agony and she is thrashing around looking for a life raft, and he happens to be there.
Wow.
He refuses to take the bait. He lets her hit him with the verbal shrapnel because he knows he can take it, and Jim cannot.
He literally took it on the chin. And it hurts even more because Jade is the one who has to break the ultimate bad news to her.
Yeah.
He looks at her exhausted and says, the memories, everything they showed us in the visions, it is real. Because Jade has not just been sitting around, he's been doing the work. Babes, we need to talk about Jade's timeline board in the bar. I am obsessed.
It is incredible.
I need high-resolution screenshots of every single sticky note. He has fully mapped out the historical cycles of this town.
Let us do a deep theory dive on Jade's timeline, because this is the Rosetta Stone of the entire series. He is tracing the town's history through specific catastrophic eras. He points to 1506. That is the date carved into the stone in the lighthouse.
Wait, let us unpack 1506. Historically, what is happening then? That is the era of early European exploration of the Americas, ships getting lost at sea, people washing up on strange shores. Are we looking at an ancient maritime curse? Did early settlers make a blood pact with something in the woods to survive a harsh winter?
It's highly probable. The town seems to pull from different epochs, because then Jade moves to the 1600s. And this is the darkest piece of the puzzle. This is the era of the Ankui children. The gaunt, bald, terrifying children in white nightgowns that Tabitha keeps seeing.
Scariest part of the show.
Jade theorizes that the 1600s was when these specific children were sacrificed on those giant stone slabs down in the root cellar caves.
But sacrifice for what? Just for cruelty?
No, Jade's theory is that it was transactional. Remember the visions of the adults chanting. The theory is that the parents of these children sacrificed them to the entity to grant themselves immortality. They traded their children's souls to live forever.
The ultimate toxic parenting. Sorry, kids. Mommy wants to live forever. Please lay on this bloody rock. It is so bleak.
And it establishes the core rule of the town. Knowledge comes at a cost. Everything is an exchange. Then Jade tracks the cycle to the 1800s, specifically 1861. The Civil War soldiers he hallucinated back in season 1, the ones who chased him through the woods. And then finally, the modern era. 2 cars, the Matthews RV and Jade's car, arriving on the exact same day. Jade is finally asking the right questions. Does remembering the past trigger the town's defense mechanisms? Are they trapped in a repeating, cyclical story loop? And what is the mathematical pattern between these catastrophic reset events?
But the horrifying reality is that the town pushes back. The town hates being studied. Boyd remembers what Sarah told him in the woods. If we push too hard, it pushes back. Tabitha and Jade pushed. They dug into the history of the Ankui children, and the town pushed back by taking Jim. It is an abusive relationship on a cosmic scale.
It absolutely is. And while Tabitha is paralyzed by this profound, world-shattering grief, we have to pivot to the other side of town. Because while Tabitha is grieving, Acosta is paralyzed by pure, unadulterated delusion.
Oh my God. My blood pressure is spiking just hearing her name. We have to talk about the messiest joyride in television history. I cannot stand this woman.
Acosta is a case study in misplaced arrogance. She has officially decided she is done with her police uniform. She finds a chunky green knit sweater at the diner, puts it on, and with that wardrobe change comes a complete and total detachment from objective reality.
This sweater was the catalyst.
It really was. She puts on the casual wear and decides, you know what? This town is useless. Sheriff Boyd is an incompetent hack. Everyone here is just lazy and complacent.
Yeah.
I, a police officer who has been here for 5 minutes and barely understands the physics of the trees, am the only sane, capable person in hell. So what is her brilliant, tactical masterstroke? She steals the clinic's ambulance.
I was screaming at my television. I was spiraling with rage. She literally hotwires and steals the town's single, solitary emergency medical vehicle.
Yeah.
The only thing they have with medical supplies and a siren.
It is so selfish.
Because she has terminal main character syndrome. She thinks she is going to drive down the road and magically find an exit that people who have been trapped here for 3 years somehow missed.
And the absolute worst, most irredeemable part of this entire sequence. She is driving this stolen ambulance down the dirt road, and she passes Ethan.
Oh, do not even get me started.
A grieving, traumatized child whose father was just gutted like a fish a few hours ago. He was walking on the side of the road looking completely lost. And Acosta, the sworn protector of the peace, looks at him and says, "Nope, he is fine," and hits the gas.
I wanted to reach through the screen and throttle her. Christy is in the passenger seat because Christy tried to stop her and got taken hostage, essentially, and Christy's reaction is legendary. She shoots Acosta the most lethal, disgusted side-eye in human history. She screams at her, he is a fucking kid in the woods whose father just died, pull over.
because Acosta is treating a purgatory dimension like a bad Yelp review. She thinks the townspeople are the problem. She thinks they are just defeatist. She does not understand the fundamental difference between complacency and survival. They are not sitting around doing nothing. They are strictly adhering to a complex set of rules required to not get their internal organs removed while they sleep.
Which makes Boyd throwing down the police spike strips in the middle of the road an absolute chef's kiss moment. I cheered in my living room. The ambulance hits the strips, the tires blow out, it skids to a halt. Boyd marches up to the window, rips the door open, screams, "Get the fuck out the car," and slams her in handcuffs. Because, babes, she is not a hero. She is a massive walking liability.
She is a danger to herself and everyone around her. And the rich, sickening irony of all of this, Acosta is running around pointing fingers, convinced that the human townspeople are the real threat to order, while completely, blissfully ignoring the literal, shape-shifting ancient demon that is currently walking freely among them in broad daylight.
Sophia, the man in yellow, the absolute audacity, the unmitigated gall of this demon.
Sophia is wandering around town in the sunshine, faking these pathetic crocodile tears over her dead dad, who, let us remind the audience, was the priest that she, as the man in yellow, literally murdered with her bare hands in the season premiere.
The disrespect.
And sweet, pure, emotionally vulnerable Kenny is bringing her tea and comforting her.
Kenny, bless his heart, is so desperate to be a good person that he is actively comforting the devil. I was pacing my living room. But the scene that truly solidified how sinister this entity is, the scene in the clinic storage room with Sarah.
This was chilling.
Yeah.
Sophia's in the storage room, slowly walking through the aisles, looking at all the clothes, the shoes, the watches left behind by all the townspeople who have been slaughtered over the years. She picks through them and casually says to Sarah, "Oh, it is so nice that they are not forgotten, that you keep their things."
But if you watch the actress, Julia Doyle, her performance is a masterclass. The micro-expressions on her face, her eyes are glittering. She is not looking at memorials. She is looking at her trophies.
Exactly.
She is a serial killer walking through a museum dedicated to her own handiwork, and she is internally giggling about it.
And we have to dissect one specific detail in that room, the ballerina figurine. Sophia picks it up. She pauses. She lets out this tiny, almost imperceptible gasp, and the corner of her mouth twitches up into a smile. She recognizes it.
Yes. She knows exactly what that is, which completely blew my mind. Because the ballerina is directly connected to the music box entity from season 2, the thing that caused the cicadas and trapped Julie in a coma. So what does this mean? Is the man in yellow the exact same entity as the music box demon, just wearing a different skin? Are they co-workers in hell?
This raises a massive structural question about the hierarchy of the monsters in this town. We have always assumed the smiley monsters, the milkman, the cheerleader, the mechanic were the main threat.
Right.
But what if they're just the grunts, the foot soldiers? Is the man in yellow the CEO of this demonic corporation, or is there an even darker, more ancient board of directors sitting above them pulling the strings of the forest?
I am leaning toward a demonic corporate ladder. And if Sophia is upper management, it brings up a glaring, flashing red light of a question. Why does not Sarah sense her? Sarah is the town's resident conduit. She literally hears the voices of the forest in her head. She has seizures when evil is near. Why is she standing in a closet, just casually helping the devil pick out new reading glasses, completely oblivious?
That is the central debate right now. Sarah usually clocks bad vibes before anyone else even enters the room. My working theory: the man in yellow is so ancient, so incredibly powerful and sophisticated that they can intentionally mask their frequency. They can lower their supernatural signature, so they just read as a baseline human to someone like Sarah.
But the facade is going to crack. You know, Sarah, she is going to notice a shadow move wrong, or she's going to hear a whisper. She's going to catch on. And when she does, nobody is going to believe her.
It is the classic boy who cried wolf scenario.
Yeah.
Sarah has a history of attempted murder because the voices told her to do it. If she runs into the diner screaming, "The sweet grieving girl is actually demon," Boyd is going to lock her in a box.
And I swear to everything, if Sophia realizes Sarah is onto her, kills Sarah, and then perfectly frames Acosta for the murder.
Oh, that is a deeply dark, incredibly plausible theory. The town loves to manufacture paranoia and turn the survivors against each other. It feeds on internal conflict, which is a perfect segue into analyzing Boyd's rapidly darkening turn as a leader. Because while Sophia is hiding her evil behind a sweet smile, Boyd is being forced to explicitly embrace his own dark side just to keep the town from descending into total anarchy.
Boyd is unraveling, The weight of the badge is crushing him. There's a scene where he confronts Elgin. Elgin knows about the eye gouging, the torture that happened in the woods, and Boyd completely corners him. He gets in his face, drops his voice to this chilling, menacing register, and basically threatens him to keep his mouth shut.
It is a terrifying pivot. Boyd tells him, the truth always comes out, but the subtext is heavy. He essentially tells Elgin, if I were you, I would make absolutely sure the truth does not come out, for your own safety. He is transitioning from a protective sheriff to a ruthless dictator out of pure necessity.
And then we see Boyd alone in his room. He violently kicks a heavy canvas duffel bag under Donna's bed, and we know what is in that bag. The pliers, the knives, the torture tools. And as the bag slides under the bed, the camera deliberately lingers on a Polaroid camera sitting on the floor.
The Polaroid. That is not just a prop. That is the exact same camera the entity used to taunt Boyd previously, taking a picture of his dead wife, his dreamboat, to psychologically torture him.
Yes, that detail.
The fact that he is keeping it, storing it with tools of violence, he is internalizing the town's methods, he is carrying the absolute weight of everyone's survival, and it is turning his soul black.
But the writers are so brilliant because they refuse to let us drown in that darkness without throwing us a lifeline. They perfectly contrast Boyd's heavy, morally compromised leadership with the most pure, wholesome, tear-jerking moment of the season, Henry and Victor in the barn.
I needed a moment to recover after this scene.
I was openly weeping. I needed a full box of tissues. Victor, who has been trapped in this town since he was a little boy, who has seen everyone he ever loved slaughtered, is having a panic attack. He is whimpering, terrified, telling his dad that the town takes everything good away. He is so conditioned to tragedy that he thinks his dad's arrival is just a prelude to his gruesome murder.
And Henry, who has spent decades searching for his missing son, who finally found him in a literal dimension of monsters, reaches out. He gently holds Victor's face in his hands, and he looks at him with his profound, anchoring love and says that even though no human being should ever have to be in a place like this, he would not trade a single second of it. Because after a lifetime of searching, they are finally together.
It is pure, unconditional, transcendent love in the literal center of hell. It is the emotional anchor of the entire episode. And it is that exact same fierce, desperate family love that pushes the Matthews kids to do incredibly reckless, drastic things in the final act.
Grief makes people bold. Julie decides she cannot just sit around while her dad is dead. She enlists Randall to help her. And can we just pause to acknowledge Randall's trajectory?
The character arc of the century. Who knew that the guy who held Donna hostage on top of a bus with a rifle in Season 3 would now be the fiercely loyal, emotionally available bestie standing guard while Julie cries? We love a reformed bad boy protector era.
Julie needs him to watch over her physical comatose body while she attempts to storywalk back into the ruins to somehow save her dad.
Okay, let us talk about the mechanics of storywalking because it is wild. She falls into the trance and her consciousness is transported through time and space back to the exact night of the RV crash in Season 2. The rain is pouring, the monsters are surrounding the RV, but here is the catch. She's not just an invisible ghost observing the past. She has physical mass.
Right, because the waitress monster, the one with a horrific grin, stops attacking the RV, turns, sees Julie, and physically pins her against a tree. The monsters in the past can perceive and interact with a time-traveling consciousness.
Which is terrifying. Randall has to violently shake her awake in the present to pull her consciousness back before she is ripped apart in the past. It proves a massive rule for the lore. You cannot easily change the past. The timeline defends itself. The monsters are a constant threat across all temporal planes.
And while Julie is battling temporal physics, Ethan goes to the abandoned RV for the most heartbreaking, innocent reason imaginable. He is carrying his little walkie-talkie. He wants to use the RV's radio antenna to boost his signal so he can talk to his dead baby brother Thomas up in heaven. He wants to ask Thomas to wait by the gate so Jim will not be alone when he arrives.
It shattered me. He is just a little boy trying to organize the afterlife so his dad is not scared. But then, the jaw drop. The moment that made me physically lunge for the remote and pause my television. Ethan slowly walks out of the RV, wiping his tears. He looks up. And sitting on a fallen log in the misty woods is Jim. Jim is dead. We literally saw his chest cavity ripped wide open 3 hours ago. But he is sitting right there, looking completely fine, and he gives Ethan this upbeat, classic, slightly patronizing Jim speech. He says, "Hey, buddy, you gotta look out for your mom now." And then his tone shifts. Yeah. He looks at Ethan intently and tells him he needs to find the lake of Tears.
Okay, my analytical conspiracy mode is fully activated. We have to break down the possibilities of what Ethan just saw. Scenario A is Jim genuinely a ghost. Is his soul trapped within the boundaries of the town, much like Father Khatri, who periodically appears to Boyd?
Scenario B is it the man in yellow. We know the entity can shapeshift into dead loved ones to manipulate the living. Is the demon projecting an avatar of Jim to trick Ethan into doing its bidding?
I struggle with scenario B only because of logistics. At that exact moment, Sophia, who we know is the man in yellow, was physically sitting with Sarah back at the clinic.
Unless the man in yellow has the power of astral projection, which honestly, in a town where trees teleport you, a demon being in two places at once would not surprise me at all. What if the town itself is projecting Jim, the forest using Jim's memory as a mouthpiece?
Let us assume the message itself is the key. Find the Lake of Tears. We have to unpack the deep lore of the Lake of Tears, because this is not a new concept. The writers are pulling a thread from all the way back in Season 1.
Yes. The Lake of Tears is originally from Ethan's favorite fantasy book, The Chromonocle.
Exactly. Let us look at the evidence. In Season 1, Ethan suffers a seizure. When he wakes up, he is in a fugue state, and he babbles that he saw the Lake of Tears drawn on a wall with a massive spider coming down from the ceiling. We also know Victor, the resident historian of horror, has explicitly drawn pictures of a lake and a giant spider. Furthermore, Boyd and Sarah literally walk through a terrifying, web-covered spider forest in Season 2. The iconography is everywhere.
So what is the lake? Is it a literal geographical location they have not found yet? Is it a portal? Is it a massive flood that is going to rise up and wipe the town off the map in a biblical reset?
There is a wildly compelling theory circulating on Reddit right now that connects the Lake of Tears to classical Greek mythology.
Oh, I saw this and my brain melted. Walk me through it.
In Greek mythology, the underworld Hades is bordered by 5 rivers. You have the river Styx, the river Lethe for forgetfulness, but crucially you have the river Cocytus. Cocytus literally translates to the river of wailing, or the Lake of Tears. It is a frozen lake where the souls of the tormented, the traitors, and the damned are trapped in ice for eternity.
Stop. That is too perfect. So the theory is that the town is a physical manifestation of the Greek underworld.
Or at least operating on its blueprint. What if everyone who has ever died in the town, Father Khatri, Tian Chen, Smiley the Monster, and now Jim, what if their souls do not go to heaven or hell? What if they are perpetually trapped in the Lake of Tears lingering just beneath the surface of the town?
But wait, if it is the Greek underworld, where is the ferrymen? Are the monsters the guardians? And the most devastating implication of this theory, if the souls of the dead are trapped in the lake, what happens if the living find an exit? What if escaping the town means you have to physically cross the boundary and leave the souls of your murdered loved ones trapped in the Lake of Tears forever?
It creates an impossible moral absolute. Do you save yourself and abandon your family's souls to eternal torment, or do you stay in hell to be with them?
I cannot handle the emotional weight of that, which means I need to pivot immediately before I start crying again. It is time for our segments, and we are going to flow right into this. Starting with segment 1, This Would Break Me. The premise is simple. We pick one specific, agonizing moment from the episode and explain exactly why experiencing it personally would utterly and completely ruin our mental stability.
I do not even have to think about it. For me, it is the suspense of the body bag.
100%. It is the waiting.
Exactly. It is not the gore itself. It is the psychological torture of anticipation. Imagine standing in the blinding morning sun. Your husband is missing. You are watching 2 men slowly, agonizingly lower a heavy, blood-soaked bag on a creaking pulley. Your heart is pounding against your ribs. You are actively, desperately trying to mentally prepare yourself to look upon the mutilated face of the person you love most in the world.
And the absolute whiplash of what happens next. You brace for human tragedy, they rip open the canvas, and you are staring at severed, bloody goat heads. The emotional journey from sheer terror to confused, hysterical relief to the chilling realization that you are being mocked by a demonic entity that finds your trauma hilarious.
And as we mentioned, the Beatles' Good Morning is playing over the loudspeaker the entire time.
That is what would break me. The audiovisual dissonance, the juxtaposition of peppy, horn-heavy 60s pop music while I'm staring at farm animal gore and realizing my husband is still missing. Send me to the psych ward immediately. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. I would simply lay down on the hot pavement, cross my arms over my chest, and wait for the smiley monsters to come take me that night. I would opt out. I would break.
Completely understandable. The sensory overload alone is enough to fracture a human mind. which flows perfectly into segment 2, energy audit. Let us rate the core vibes of the people causing or actively surviving the chaos this week. Who feels safe, whose energy is totally off, and who is radiating full, undeniable red flag energy.
Okay, I am going to start with safe energy. And this is going to sound insane given where we were a year ago, but Randall.
The redemption arc is truly something to behold.
Right. The man who was public enemy number one, the guy who terrorized everyone and threw tantrums, is now fiercely loyal. When he makes a promise, he keeps it. He stands guard over Julie's physical body. He does not panic. When she wakes up screaming, he just holds her while she cries. He is giving reformed bad boy, protective older brother energy, and his vibes are currently the safest in the colony.
I have to agree. Also firmly in the safe category.
Yeah.
JKS. As we discussed, the man took Tabitha's venomous, displaced rage like an absolute champion. He knows when to suppress his own ego and just absorb the pain of a grieving mother. That shows immense emotional intelligence and maturity. Safe vibes.
Now, for off energy, I have to give it to Sarah.
Yeah, she's vibrating at a very strange frequency right now.
Yeah. Babes, she is giving catastrophic boy who cried wolf energy. She is standing in a brightly lit room with the literal devil having a polite conversation about reading glasses, and her internal radar is completely silent. Her energy is anxious, untethered, and fundamentally doomed. Because when the veil drops and she finally realizes who Sophia is, the town is going to look at her track record and lock her up. Her vibes are tragically off.
Totally agree. She is a tragedy waiting to happen. And moving to red flag energy. This is a crowded category this week. First up, Costa.
Infinite red flags, a parade of red flags.
She is delusional, self-righteous, and suffers from fatal main character syndrome. Slashing tires, stealing ambulances, ignoring grieving children. She is a walking, talking liability who's going to get innocent people killed because she refuses to read the room.
And of course, the Grand Marshal of the Red Flag Parade, Sophia. The man in yellow, literally admiring her murder trophies in a closet and giggling internally while comforting the man whose father figure she butchered. She is an apex predator wearing a cardigan.
Which perfectly sets up segment 3, what happens when the lights go off. This is where we speculate on the unseen, eerie, off-screen moments of the town. Because I want to know the logistical reality of what Sophia was doing the night before.
Right, because Kenny catches her wandering outside the clinic in the early morning light. She claims she could not sleep, but what was she actually doing? Did she physically drag Jim's massive body to the barn herself? Does this tiny woman have supernatural, demonic strength to string him up by the rafters?
See, I picture something so much messier and unhinged. I do not think she lifts a finger. I picture the man in yellow, wearing Sophia's innocent face, sitting on a lawn chair in the woods, sipping a cup of chamomile tea out of a thermos, just lazily commanding the smiling monsters to do the heavy lifting.
Yes, like a demonic interior decorator. She's just pointing a finger like, no, higher, hang him a little higher. I want the blood to drip perfectly on the K in the word knowledge. Let us focus on the aesthetics of the gore, people.
Exactly, and I picture them all giggling in the dark. The monsters and Sophia standing around the motel sign, stuffing severed goat heads into a canvas bag like mean girls executing a prank, just to be petty. The sheer amount of effort and coordination it takes to execute a prank that intricately evil. They are working overtime.
It is terrifying because it confirms they are not just mindless, hungry predators driven by instinct. They are bored, highly malicious entities playing with their food. It is sport for them.
Which brings us to our final segment of the breakdown. Segment 4, Petty Survival Plan. If we, the hosts of the Snark side, were suddenly dropped into this exact nightmare town, how would we survive using only chaotic, completely unserious decisions?
I have my blueprint ready. My first move upon arrival. I am stealing that ambulance before Acosta can even get her little green sweater out of the diner. But I am not hotwiring it to drive around looking for a magical exit. That requires effort. I am just parking it in a reinforced garage, locking all the heavy steel doors, curling up in the back on the stretcher, and taking a nap. I'm sleeping through the apocalypse.
Honestly, a valid and energy-efficient strategy. For me, I am taking a different approach. I am befriending the jukebox.
I mean, explain your logic.
Think about it. The jukebox is sentient. It controls the mood of the town. If it is going to actively troll people with upbeat music during profound tragedies, I am getting on its good side. I am taking requests. I am going to stand by the diner window with a microphone, and when the monsters approach the glass, I am going to ask the jukebox to cue up some mid-2000s club hits. If I'm going to be hunted by shape-shifting demons, I refuse to do it in silence. I am going out with a heavily curated soundtrack.
I love that for you. A club rat until the bitter end. But realistically, if we were actually there, we would not do any of that. We would both just sneak into Colony House, hide under Donna's bed with Boyd's stolen Polaroid camera, and quietly document the drama from a safe distance.
It is true. We would hear people fighting in the hallway, and we'd be like, oh, Tabitha's yelling at Jade again. Let me just snap a quick pic with the fash off for the historical archives.
We would be the anonymous gossip bloggers of Fromville, just sliding Polaroids of messy arguments under people's doors to stir the pot, surviving entirely on snark, avoidance, and manufactured drama.
It is the only way we know how to live. But babes, looking at the time, that is all we have for this week's absolutely chaotic breakdown.
Snark Squad, thank you so much for hanging out with us, for enduring the madness, and for surviving the chaos. We genuinely love diving into this mess with you every single week. You are our people.
And please, if you enjoyed spiraling with us today, do not forget to share the deep dive with a friend who loves reality-bending television drama as much as we do. Send them a link, force them to listen, and leave us a rate and review on whatever platform you use. It legitimately helps this show grow so we can keep doing this.
And seriously, just take a step back and look at the journey we took today. Like, babes, we started this discussion talking about haunted Mexican balls physically moving around on a bookshelf, and we transitioned into questioning the fabric of time, alternate reality vanilla soda, and goat-filled body bags. Truly unsettling, highly concerning, but ultimately iconic.
It is the Snark Side guarantee.
Yeah.
We deliver the chaos. But before we officially log off, we want to leave you with a final, lingering thought to ruin your sleep tonight. Going back to that Reddit theory we discussed, if the Lake of Tears is actually a manifestation of the Greek underworld holding the souls of everyone who has ever died in this town, does finding a physical way to escape mean you have to make a choice? Does walking out of the town mean you must leave your loved ones' souls trapped in the ice forever? Is the ultimate final cost of freedom leaving them behind to be tormented?
Oh, I am going to be staring at my ceiling in the dark thinking about that tonight. Sleep with one eye open, babes. Check your bookshelves. Stay spooky, stay curious, and we will see you on the Snark Side.